Everyone. Back to the Squeaky Floorboard
Hello,
Society. I'm Sage,
I'm Megan.
and you're back with us, hopefully. And if this is your first time listening, how dare you go listen to the rest of season one so far?
Yeah, they're really good. In our humble, unbiased opinion.
Literally. So, we are a little bit late to recording.
Sage, why don't you tell us how that happened?
I am optimistic. I'm so optimistic. And so, it's like 2:20. We would normally start recording at 3, and I'm like, "Oh, it's 2:20. Surely enough, I can put an entire coffee table together in 40 minutes." So, I go live on TikTok on on our podcast thing, and I'm like, "Surely I can do this." So it's like, "Help me put my table together while I build," or like before I have to like go record the podcast. Y'all, I did not. I did not build. I'm not even done building it. I saw that it was 3:18 and it was like, I have to go upstairs. There's like, this is gonna wait for later, I guess.
That's such a good idea, though, because I have some laundry room cabinets I need to take down this week.
That's I literally every time I've gone live on our podcast account, it's like I'm doing homework, and it's like ask me about the podcast while I'm doing stuff. I'll talk about it.
Yeah, I should just let them watch because my cabinets are super high up and I have to stand on my washer, and I'm going to try to take them down by myself, despite the fact that they're absolutely massive. So
And
it's
if
gonna be
you
watch
get
me
injured,
die live on TikTok.
and if you get injured, at least someone can call 911.
Right, right.
So it works out.
How much more of your table do you have left, Sage?
Um, I have to finish putting the where the legs go. I've got to finish drilling those on. I've got to put the leg in that, add the glue pads to the bottom, and then I have to flip this over and then put the top on.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Not too bad. It'd probably take me another hour though, because I couldn't figure out how to line up the leg thing, and that was what took the longest recently.
No, because I put together a table for my patio recently. So my workplace had like glass patio tables left over from the summer, and they were originally $112. And I came into work at like 5 a.m. one day, and the lady was like, "Hey, these are on sale for $12 after your employee discount. It'll be $10.99." I was like, "I'm getting a table." That thing was so fucking. I put stuff together all the time because I love it. I am the builder of my house, not of my actual house, but you know what I mean. I did not build my house. But that's my thing. I love doing that. And I thought this table was hard. Like the legs didn't line up the way I thought they would.
So, do you know the coffee tables where like the top lifts up and you've got the storage area?
Oh, is it one of those?
Yes, those are a bitch.
Those look a little more complicated than your average table, but they're really cool, so
The
it's probably worth it.
instructions are terrible. It doesn't
Were
tell
they written
you.
with Google Translate?
They're just like attach part 7 to part 3 with the eccentric disc. And I'm like, what is the eccentric disc part?
Yeah, no, the instructions to my table were very much like that too. They were like, attach leg to table with part F. I'm like, how though?
Yeah, it doesn't show you where the dowels are supposed to go, so it doesn't show if they're
Hmm.
supposed to be up or down. I'm like, this is awful. Why are you doing
Have you
this
ever
to
put
me?
have you ever had to put together something that is there's no words, it's only pictures?
Yes, I actually do better with
I
those.
I hate that. I need words. I need
I
words.
am dyslexic, so maybe it's just because I'm not focusing on the words. I'm just able to focus on like the pictures itself. So I'm not like
That might be the case.
last night on live. I joined Tiff's for a little bit, and they were doing uh like Pictionary. Actually, we were initially
Oh.
doing Hangman, and I was like, skip me, don't give me a choice, like just go to someone else. And then we finished that. I thought it was supposed to say yummy cake. It was funnel cake.
Yummy. Did you have you in and think it was going to be yummy?
So I thought the ins were initially M's,
Ah.
and then when we switched over to Pictionary, that was awful because it was box, and I said a state because it looked like it had a little like foot to it. I was like, oh, what's a
Hmm.
state? I don't remember. I think it's Colorado, but I was wrong. But then Tiff goes, yeah, it's a baseball bat, and I'm looking at where it says box, and I'm like, oh no, oh no, because I was like, how am I fucking up so bad? Like, I feel like that says box. It a baseball bat. And so Megan, who makes the t-shirts, she jumps onto the live and goes, "Hey, that was a box, not a baseball bat." And so I'm just having a panic attack at like 11:45 at night over a box or baseball bat.
Yeah, that sounds right. I mean, look, you have dyslexia. You're aware you have it. I would think you'd be safe in Pictionary of all things, but apparently not.
That's like the one place I should be safe.
Yeah, I would. So it's like a picture book for a child, and suddenly there's a word.
That's how I felt.
You know, my son is starting to be able to read, which is really cool. It's really cool, actually. He's learned so many sight words now, and he's starting to understand how like the letters actually work because of like, oh, there, you know, I know what sound the letter A makes when it's in a word because I can read these words that have the letter A, and I know what
Aw.
they are. So like he read something the other day. He was like, "Look, mommy, it says," and I was like, "Okay, that's right. Good job. How do you know that though?" Like it's crazy.
Can we admit that I think the worst thing about being dyslexic is when you have to go for eye exams?
That probably does suck. I've never thought about that.
Because there are times where I've messed things up, but I have to tell them that I'm dyslexic so that it's like, okay, is she just blind? Or is this her dyslexia?
Yeah, no, if I'm fucking it up, it's because I'm blind. Why did you make me take my contacts out for my eye exam? You know I can't see.
It-
They did. They had me take my contacts out once because they had to dilate my eyes. It was one of those
oh,
eye exams, and then they're like, "So can you really not read that?" I was like, You can see what my prescription is. I'm legally blind."
my mom. My mom, when she went for her, I think it was probably her last eye exam, uh, she was doing it, and like the doctor was like joking around with my parents, and then he's like having my mom read lines, and then he's like listening to her and he's writing them down, and he looks back up there, and looks back at my mom, and looks back up there, and goes like my dad says he went to like a straight face very quickly. He was joking around, straight face, looks at her like is like panicking, like, "Do you drive?" My mom goes, "No," and he's like, "Good." And my mom said she never felt more ashamed very
No,
quickly.
like I get it though because like I had an eye doctor once be like, he looked at my prescription, he went, "Wow, you really can't see." I said, "Yeah, that's why I'm here."
It's so
With
crazy.
with my with my contacts and glasses, I'm totally fine. I
Yeah,
can see just fine. But the moment those bad boys are either not on my face or not in my eyes, watch out.
yeah. Oh my goodness. It's it's everything's kind of bullshit.
Everything's bullshit. I hate it. Um, you guys might see me at some point drinking out of this cup. It is indeed one of my son's. My cup was unable to be located, and I needed a cup with a straw.
And you know
So I'm
what?
drinking out of a child's sippy cup.
It's classy.
It's really classy, especially with the I don't know if you can see it, the lipstick. You definitely can't. There's lipstick on the straw now,
Does he
but
chew straws?
he chews them so bad. He's kind of grown out of it now, but when he first got him, I would have to like the way because he would chew them almost flat. I'd have to turn them and then like gnaw them back into shape
I just thought
so
when
that
you're
he could still use them. I would look like this. I go try to gnaw it back into shape.
motherhood's a joy, isn't it?
Like I'm not buying no more fucking sippy cups just because you want to chew on them. Call me a gopher. Call me a beaver. Whatever. I
I
don't care.
love it. I love it so much.
Do you have anything else, Sage?
That was it.
I don't either. So please tell me what you're doing today because I know you told me right before we started and I've already forgotten.
So we are covering Jacques Roulet, which is another really fun story.
And French, presumably.
Yes. Because for some
God, who
reason
could have?
I I love the French.
No, it's like every time somebody's like, "There's a werewolf," and the French are involved. I'm like, "Yeah, fork found in fucking kitchen." Like,
Yeah.
what's the deal with that?
They were the ones that just kept the most documentation.
I think you did explain that in
Like
another
they were
episode, but
like
in my mind,
they were just like we're going to document every little thing. Every little thing so that way future generations will have it. which is great. But um, before we get into this, I do want to talk about an article that had like the most information. And if I'm correct, I've used a lot of his articles. Maybe. I'm pretty sure. The article is by Spooky Site, and the title is "Who Was Jacques Roulet? The True Story of the Infamous Werewolf of Angers." Um, if I'm correct, if this is the website that I'm thinking of, they always have like the most information you can find on anything. Because if I'm correct, this is the guy who he goes to the villages, or he can like he gets the documentations and stuff and reads through them and puts them. And
Oh,
he's
okay.
so amazing with it.
No, that's like some serious like investigative
Yeah.
work.
So I will say that this one made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up while researching. And I will say that this was a harder thing to research because it seems this gentleman really only gets snippets of stories aside from that entire website page dedicated to him. But today we're making him the star of the show. So most accounts on this story contradict each other as it happens. So I've taken a lot of like bits and stuff from other articles, and I've kind of just put it together as much as I could. So, as you know, we're back in France, 1598. Now, if you don't remember, the werewolf hysteria is at full speed there in France, and during this time, everyone was on edge. They were still in deep superstition and devil fearing. And here's the story of a man named Jacques Roulet, a man accused of being no ordinary killer, but a man who claimed to transform into a wolf and feast on human flesh.
Hmm.
Jacques Roulet was initially suspected of murder and cannibalism, but later confessed to being a werewolf. So, this all starts near the town of, I want to say Angers because it looks like Angers, so we're going to say it's Angers. So, I'm sorry to
Right.
anyone from France.
It's gonna anger them.
um, Out in the countryside, it is a small town in western France located in the Loire Valley. A group of hunters stumble across a nightmare. Partially covered by twisted roots and stones, lay the mutilated, half naked body of a 15-year-old shepherd. Now, in different versions of the story, they say they were hunters, others say they were woodcutters. I've even seen one that just said that these were two men out on a walk. Regardless, the
Okay.
same thing stays is that two men basically were out in the woods and they come across the body. The scene was enough to make grown men weep.
Mm.
The boy's body was torn apart, bones were chewed, entrails spilled out, and the ground was soaked in blood. Whatever did this wasn't just killing, it was feasting. Horrified, the men rushed back to the village, and the grim news of their discovery soon spread through the town like a wildfire, because obviously, this is one of their own. Everyone was wondering how this was even possible, what happened, and what dreadful beast could have been responsible. So, some of the townspeople began to run themselves with rudimentary weapons and formed a search party heading back into the woods. Many were convinced that it was a wolf or even a bear, which not that far out there because they are on the countryside. And again, as we've discussed, this isn't like modern day towns and stuff like that. These are villages. Not far from the scene, a search party came across a man crouched in the thicket. Now, who do you think this man could be?
Is it Jacques?
It was none other than Jacques Roulet. He was filthy with long matted hair, ragged clothes that were covered in blood. His nails were long and claw like, or so it says, and he apparently had human flesh under his nails.
Ew.
According to another version, Roulet was discovered by two hunters who initially came across two wolves feeding on the body. When they chased the wolves, they soon found Roulet nearby, covered in blood with flesh under his fingernails. The scene was what convinced the villagers that Roulet was in fact a werewolf. So, Jacques was immediately apprehended. When questioned, Jacques didn't deny anything. He confessed on the spot to killing the boy by smothering him. He also confessed to murders and cannibalism of the boy. But not just this boy, others too. Now, listen closely because this is where it gets really strange. There is no mention in historical records of Roulet admitting to witchcraft or dealing with the devil, which are both common confessions from those accused of being werewolves. So I'm going to say this again. He never says that he does witchcraft, and he never admits and confesses to working with the devil.
Okay, so how did he become a werewolf? That's the question then.
He said he was a werewolf, and he transformed with the help of a magical salve that his parents had given him.
Parents just be fucking up their kids.
They really do. And he actually began to name other people he knew that took part in this. So first of all, like, you're a snitch.
Yeah, why you snitching, bro?
He said his brother Jean and his cousin Julian. So now you're just ratting on family too.
Yeah.
Together, he said they would rub ointment on their skin and then head off into the woods hunting like wolves.
Just dudes being dudes. Let's go
Roulet,
rub ointment on ourselves.
let's go rub ointment ourselves and run into the woods.
Yeah.
Roulet stated that his brother, cousin, and him would go hunting women and children together. After being imprisoned, Jacques showed bizarre behaviors. One of which was he would drink an entire pail of water at once and then began to refuse to eat or drink anything for days at a time. Now, here's where his story differs from one of the others I have told you about this far. Would you like to guess how the story is vastly different from previous cases I have covered?
Uh, I'm sure it's gonna be something that I could never guess in 1,000 years.
All of these admissions came without the coercion of torture.
Oh,
So,
okay. Yeah,
granted,
no, you said he just immediately was like, "Yep, I
the
hate him."
Thies was also one that just admitted to it without. But we also,
You know,
but
nobody was even asking him about it either.
no. But as for this case, it's what was so different because Thies wasn't in France. So, like, when you compare France, a lot of them it's torture,
Mm-hmm.
and this one there was no torture. So, because of this, his case doesn't fit the normal narrative at the time of typical witchcraft or werewolf cases. His trial took place soon after he was apprehended, and it took place in the same place, which, if you don't remember, is Angers, France. At this time, cases were tried based on speculation of legal norms clashing with superstition. Things were ruled solely on the weight of evidence, confession, and the public sphere. During his trial, Roulet allegedly recognized the victim's clothes, correctly identified the day and place in which the boy had disappeared. He even recognized the boy's father, who was present during the trial.
Oh, yuck.
Roulet's parents were able to prove that both Jean and Julien were nowhere near the crime scene and had nothing to do with the crime. And the judge believed them. The judge who was judging this case was Pierre Ahol. It sounds like a-hole,
Mm-hmm.
but the French should just be doing their own thing.
Right.
So the article I actually mentioned earlier had a translation from the chilling testimony as it was recorded.
Okay.
Judge, what is your name and title? Jacques. My name is Jacques Roulet. I am 35 years old. I am poor. Judge, what specifically are you accused of? Jacques, of being a thief, of insulting God. My parents gave me an ointment. I don't know its composition. Judge, when you use this ointment, do you become a wolf? Jacques, I don't transform, but nevertheless, I killed and ate Cornier's child. I was a beast. Judge, were you dressed as a wolf? Jacques, I was dressed as I am now. My hands and face were covered in blood because I had eaten the mentioned child's flesh. Judge, do your hands and feet turn into wolf paws? Jacques, yes, that's what happens. Judge, does your head also transform into a wolf's head? Does your mouth become larger? Jacques, I don't know what my head was like then. I used my teeth, and my head was as it is today. I have hurt and eaten many other small children. His trial ended with Lieutenant Cremiel of Angers sentencing him to death for murder, werewolfism, and cannibalism.
I feel like you could have just sentenced him to death without the werewolf charge, even. You know, you didn't need to tack that nonsense on.
Yeah. Now, there's another article that says Roulet said he got the salve from the devil himself, and below is something that another article said. He was quoted saying, quote, "It burns the skin and numbs the soul, and then the beast comes," end quote. He describes his hands turning to paws, his skin growing fur, his mind overcome with animal rage. He claimed that he'd been doing this for a long time and that his family had taught him the ritual. Witnesses testified that Roulet was found near the mutilated body, that he was disheveled, covered in gore, and speaking incoherently about the devil. Now, my issue with this is why? If he was the one to do this, why didn't he go further from the body? Why would he remain near it still?
Because he's a werewolf.
But
And animals aren't very smart.
but they do have really good hearing.
Right.
So you would hear
I
those
mean,
people coming up.
yeah. Look, when the judge asked him his title, he said poor. I'm not banking on this guy being super intelligent.
Well, I think that was your only option other than like a noble or something like that this time.
Could have been like, I'm a common man. But poor? Yeah, he's snitching on himself now.
He really is.
He snitched on everybody and then called himself out for being broke. That's insane.
Now, the court, they weren't just dealing with some kind of drunkard or highway robber. They truly believed in lycanthropy. And to them, this wasn't just madness, it was
Heresy.
heresy, a deal with the devil himself. They declared Jacques Roulet guilty of witchcraft, lycanthropy, and murder. The initial sentence was death by burning, but there is a twist. The case was appealed to the Parliament of Paris, a higher court, by Roulet. There, doctors and scholars examined Roulet and declared he was mentally ill, suffering from madness. They believed this due to doubts about his mental state during his confession. The madness is what we know now as clinical lycanthropy, a rare psychological condition where someone believes they are turning into a wolf. They overturned the execution, and them overturning his execution, let alone the execution of a believed werewolf, was completely unheard of during this time. Instead, Roulet was sentenced to 2 years in a hospital. 2 years. That was it.
For eating a child?
Hmm.
That's crazy.
It's also believed that his erratic behaviors and his claims more than likely led to authorities questioning his sanity. After that, Roulet completely vanishes from the records. Some say he died in the hospital, others believe he was released never to be seen again. But here's the thing, Roulet wasn't just some loon howling at the moon. He gave detailed, consistent testimonies. He named his family. He described the transformation. He recounted the taste of flesh, the sound of bones cracking in his jaw. Now, during this time, the understanding of mental illness was not something they knew about. They really knew about. There was a recognition that those deemed insane or to have madness were not fully responsible for their actions. Specifically, in this case, Parliament may have been more cautious, noticing the potential for a wrongful execution based on hysteria rather than evidence. The Reformation prompted deeper looks into justice, mortality, and the treatment of those who were accused of being a werewolf or a witch. And actually, there was an increasing tendency to view confessions obtained under duress skeptically, and a growing belief in humane treatment for those who were deemed to be mentally ill. Roulet's case also prompts a re examination of lycanthropy from both a medical and legal standpoint. During this time, it was viewed as a form of delusion or mental illness, and lycanthropy challenged those boundaries between scientific and supernatural. So, by the Parliament looking into this case further, they indirectly acknowledged the potential for a medical explanation behind what was initially viewed as a supernatural affliction. This caused a huge shift during this time because it brought awareness to the complexities of the human mind, which no one really thought about at this time. So, was Jacques Roulet a werewolf or someone who was actually dealing with a mental illness? What we do know for a fact is that he was a deeply troubled individual and he barely escaped execution for his crimes. But we do need to remember that this happened in the late 16th century, a time where mental illness wasn't something that was really thought of. If you were different, you were a witch or a werewolf, or you were working with a devil.
What?
Your straw squeaked.
Oh, okay. I didn't think it would pick that up.
You're good. I was just like, what happened?
This Jacques Roulet screaming from beyond the grave.
Maybe. Um, Roulet might have actually suffered from a psychological disorder like schizophrenia or even dissociative identity disorder. And honestly, a lot of these cases very well could have been caused by several mental disorders. I mean, after all, Roulet truly believed he was a werewolf, and that could have led him to commit these crimes. And also, psychotic episodes can cause people to have hallucinations and delusions. So, could these be the cause of why he truly believed he was a werewolf? One theory of Jacques Roulet is obviously that he very well could have been suffering from mental health problems. Another theory is that he was easily influenced. At this time, folklore and superstitions heavily influenced norm and belief, which I can see that.
Yeah, if he's already like somebody who has kind of like a vulnerable mental state and is really suggestible,
Yeah.
just the hysteria around like it's almost like an OCD thing
Yeah.
where people will hear about something and then they become concerned that they're doing that or they're the problem.
Yeah. And like we just said, there were so many stories going around at the time. So maybe after that many stories and hearing them, it began to change his perception of himself.
Right, especially if he is suffering from something like schizophrenia, dissociative identity disorder.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised at all if it was actually schizophrenia, and there's schizophrenia influenced by the werewolf hysteria, and now he has a voice in his head telling him he's a werewolf.
Yeah. Another theory is scapegoating.
Okay.
Um, in simple terms, scapegoating is a psychological and socio-psychological mechanism in which some communities manage internal conflicts, fears, frustrations during these times of social unrest and hardship, and they will accuse someone as the problem when they weren't. So, with that, was Roulet actually coerced to give these answers so the town could return to their daily chores and not live in fear anymore? And since he gave his shocking confessions of lycanthropy and cannibalism, this would honestly make him the perfect candidate. So, by labeling him a werewolf, the community could channel their fears and frustrations into actions against him. The intense psychological pressure of interrogation, marked by isolation, fear, and looming threats like execution, could have deeply affected his mental state and led to false confessions. In his case, such stress may have been his breaking point, and he confessed as a way to escape the immediate fear and authority of the situation. Which,
Right. I mean, yeah, he could have just been somebody that wasn't all mentally there to begin with, and people like that are really easy to make scapegoats.
yeah. And if you found him near the body, automatically right there, you can automatically pin anything on him that you want to. No ifs, ands,
Right.
buts about it.
Right. I guess that would kind of explain why he didn't run away. He might not have even been aware of the situation.
Yeah. And they, just because he was near there, he got charged. So, what about this magical salve? It comes up in other werewolf trials. Like a lot of them, like not even just specifically the ones we've discussed so far. There are so many that I've read that are just little snippets where they mention this magic salve that causes them to change into the half man, half beast.
Hmm.
So during this time, herbs, mushrooms, and other natural substances were said to be healing, and some even were used in spiritual practices. But many of these are also known to have psychoactive properties,
He's
which
tripping balls.
which can significantly alter a person's mental state, perceptions, and behaviors. Some common plants that were used during this time were belladonna, mandrake, and various species of nightshades and fungi. And when these are ingested in large quantities, they can cause hallucinations, delirium, and a sense of disconnection from reality. So, in this case and many others, if they have access or were even given these substances, which more than likely they were, this could have easily changed their perceptions. We can also assume that all of these salves that were mentioned in these werewolf cases from the 16th century France were contaminated with these substances. Another article states that the salve could have tricked the individual's mind into thinking they'd been changed, while in all actuality they were just laying there in a coma. I don't know why. I don't know why that always makes me laugh when I've read that. It's like you're like
Well, that's
in your mind you've
yeah,
changed, you're on a killing spree, and really you're just laying next to a campfire in a coma.
right. That's average Friday night, right?
um, yeah. So that is a little bit of the answer of what these salves probably were. The only person that can have salves that don't mean anything is Manuel Blanco Romasanto. His salves were humans.
Right. His didn't make you trip. They were just nasty.
Yeah. So to this day, Jacques Roulet remains one of the most infamous werewolf cases in history. A man who truly believed, or at least convinced others, that he could become a beast and haunt humans. Hunt, not haunt. So, in the end, who was Jacques Roulet? Was he truly a werewolf? A killer shaped by dark rituals and supernatural powers? Or was he a deeply disturbed man caught in a time where mental illness wasn't understood, and the line between reality and belief was paper thin? Maybe he believed the stories so deeply that they became real to him. Maybe he was trying to explain something inside of him that he didn't have words for. Or maybe, just maybe, the people need, around him needed someone to blame, someone to turn into a monster so that they could sleep a little easier at night. What makes Roulet's case so fascinating isn't just the gruesome tales or the confessions. It's how it reflects the fear of the time and how those same fears still show up today in the way we talk about mental illness, crime, and personal responsibility. He vanishes from the records after his hospital stay, but maybe that was for the best. But his story still stuck around, not because he was a legend, but because he was a man that people didn't understand. And when people don't understand something, they turn it into the monster. So, this was the case of Jacques Roulet. What are your thoughts?
I think it's probably more likely than anything that he had a mental disorder, whether it's clinical lycanthropy or schizophrenia or something. I mean, obviously, we know people don't turn into wolves.
Yeah.
Maybe. We might know that. However, just through the modern medical context, through a modern medical lens, it makes the most sense that he just was unwell.
Yeah.
And he probably did kill that boy if he was covered in gore, which we're kind of taking their word for it there. But if he was covered in gore and he was near the crime scene, then yeah, he probably did kill that boy. And the fact that he was able to identify everything, like, that tells me he probably did kill him. But
And
not because he was a werewolf, but because he was mentally unwell.
and my thing too is he's from this village.
Mm-hmm.
He probably knows who the boy is and his
Right.
family.
Right.
So when they are saying, "Oh, he knew who the boy's father was," usually villages were pretty you may not have been friends with everyone, but you know who everyone was.
Right.
So I'm like, it's not really that shocking that he would have
Yeah,
known.
I guess it's not. And even him might being able to identify the boy's clothes, like the kid probably it's rural 1500s France. The kid probably had one pair of clothes.
Yeah.
You
And
always saw him in it.
yeah. Or and if he's a shepherd and because it seems like Jacques was probably homeless.
He was probably living kind of in the woods.
So he probably saw the kid numerous times if he was a shepherd.
Right. In my mind, it still makes sense since he was nearby and confessed to it immediately
Yeah.
that he did kill that boy. But he just if he had had access to the same psychological treatments we have now, he wouldn't have ate that kid.
Yeah. So this also
So
this shows us how much us actually understanding mental health has helped since then even.
well, yeah. There's not people eating people in the streets typically. Typically.
So about that and the Florida case with the bath salts.
Right. Bath salts. Yeah. We could potentially have listeners that are too young to remember that case.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something really funny real quick about that. So not about that. That was actually awful for the person that had to go through all of that.
Right.
But my mom, bless her little soul, I love bath salts. Like bath bombs, like adding anything extra to my bath I love. Well, when she
Right.
heard bath salts, she dumped all of the ones that we had at the house, and at that time I had 6 bottles of bath salts and stuff like that.
She thought they meant like bathtub bath salts.
And so she
Aw.
threw them out. And when my dad was
No.
like, "That's not what they mean," she's like, "Oh, I don't want my daughter getting high by laying in the bathtub." My dad's like, "That's not how that works."
I suddenly understand why she's putting things in her bath. We're lucky to be alive.
And I'm 8 years old, so
Right.
I think I had bigger problems.
Right. Yeah, no, for those of you who I'm sorry, I'm yawning. I don't know why. I didn't even work today. Um I was up late though. I'll tell you why between episodes. Um eh, for those who are too young to remember this case, there was a young man in Florida who took a bunch of bath salts, which was a street drug at the time that was kind of vaguely popular. And he attacked a man at a bus stop and ate part of his face off. And it took like a gazillion cops to take him down because when you're on bath salts, you have like superhuman strength
Well, and
because you can't feel
also,
pain.
wasn't his organs flipped too?
His organs?
Sometimes your body can be confused and your organs will be flipped, so his heart was on the wrong side.
I don't know about that, but I was pretty sure that like they shot him a couple times and he
They
didn't go down.
This is gonna be the weirdest Google search I ever have to do. No, his were not. There's another case I'm thinking of where they had to shoot someone and he had reversed organs.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I just found something else out about this case. You know how they said it was bath salts? There was
Yeah.
nothing in his system except marijuana.
Really?
It literally says the Miami cannibal. That it's called the Miami cannibal attack. It says Miami face chewing attack. No bath salts found in Rudy Eugene's system.
The AI overview. I scrolled back up, and yeah, it says did not or was not on
Oh,
bath salts, did not have reverse organs, and was a real person with a personal history of mental health struggles.
okay. Well, there we have it. We have our modern day Jacques Roulet, and this is why Jacques Roulet did it. Oh, that's actually really that's sad.
That
This
is.
case is way sadder than
Y-
I remember it being. So I'm kind of glad I looked this up. Also, I forgot to mention he was indeed naked when he attacked that guy,
Yeah.
and they did. They shot him, and he was killed at the scene,
Oh,
which is sad.
he was known by family and friends to be a religious person who experienced bouts of violent and erratic behaviors that some now were perceived as psychotic episodes.
That's yeah. So he was probably having a psychotic episode, and here's the thing. I have so much sympathy for this poor man to have these clearly untreated mental health issues. Um, but you can't eat another man's face.
No, you can't. But now this shows how much the news
Now, to be
fucking
fair, they did genuinely believe at first, but you'd think they would have come out and like run another story, like, "Hey, that
yeah.
guy was not on bath salts. He was just unwell."
Yeah, that like cuz I remember vividly being in the living room and hearing it. I was playing with my Hannah
Hmm.
Montana Barbie that song and my Troy and Gabriella doll with a microphone.
Uh, I'm sorry.
What'd you find?
This also happened in Florida in 2016 in a completely unrelated incident. A 19-year-old Florida State University sophomore stormed out of Duffy Sports Grill, walked more than 3 miles, brutally attacked a husband and wife in their garage, turned lounge, and then when the first Martin County Sheriff's deputy arrived, the wife was dead and the attacker was shirtless, and he was on top of her husband, biting flesh from his face as he lay in the driveway. It would take 3 deputies, multiple taser shots, and a police canine to drag away the attacker.
Oh my god.
Now, he was at a bar before this happened, so who knows what was in his system.
Yeah.
I
Why do I
didn't
feel
find.
like the bath salt one was it in 20, I feel like it wasn't in 2012. I feel like it was like 2008.
It was 4 years before. It was in 2012.
That just doesn't seem right.
Yeah, no, he was. Oh, this guy's literally my age. He was born in 96. Yeah, he was probably mentally. Oh, yeah, he was found not guilty by reason of insanity. So, yeah, there was something. He was unwell too. He just survived. What is going on in Florida? Jacques Roulet, you were meant to be a Florida man.
So Rudy Eugene, which is the one that attacked,
Yes.
and Ronald Popo, I'm gonna say Popo.
Papo, I think it's Papo, was the
The
victim.
what caused it was Rudy accused Ronald of stealing his Bible. That's what started
Oh.
that entire thing.
Hmm.
And
It does very much sound like he might have been having some kind of episode.
yeah.
And this other poor fella, I hate to say this poor fella, he did kill 2 people, but he was to be found not guilty by reason of insanity in this day and age. You have to be seriously,
Yeah.
you know,
You don't get that.
lightly.
Yeah.
So, I'm sure if he has the sentience, not sentience, if he has the cognition to understand what happened, because
Yeah.
I don't know what he has. I'm sure he feels terrible.
Oh, he probably does, especially like if he's coming from a bar.
Alcohol can also
Yeah.
exacerbate mental health issues
And
so badly.
if he was on any medications, it can cause a negative
Hmm.
effect. There's so many different things.
Yeah. So apparently, this is, and you know what? Both those people would have been accused of being werewolves back in the day.
They would have been.
I'm glad we looked that up because that actually ended up being a really fitting tangent for the episode.
That really did.
Like,
And it
we
gives
got
you
more.
guys a little bit more
Cannibalism.
recent true crime.
Yeah, cases like that are sad because everybody's a victim.
Yeah.
It's not like cases like where it's a serial killer, where they're just like, I hated my mom as a kid, so I'm killing women that look like my mom. Like, that's
Yeah.
different. You can't feel bad for that guy. You
No.
can say, I'm sorry you had a bad childhood,
Yeah.
but like, after a
Well,
certain point, you lose sympathy.
and that's why there's also like you go into like into the psychology of nature versus nurture.
Hmm.
Like right now I'm in lifespan development, so we're studying how people's childhoods affect them later in life.
Yeah.
Sorry, Freya's laying in a box and she looks adorable. She's got her hand on the outside of it and she's
Cheech was laying on the couch with his arms completely outstretched earlier, hanging his arm. He was like laying with his butt against the back of the couch and his arms forward.
like, oh.
He looked like the Sphinx, but fat.
Well, let us know what you guys think.
Yeah, let us know if you have any special salves in your medicine cabinet.
Tell me if they have belladonna, mandrake, or fungi
Fungi,
incorporated.
mushrooms.
Any specific ones?
Tell us if you've ever had a bad acid trip and thought you were a werewolf. That we'd love to hear that.
We would. Yeah, let us know.
And give us your thoughts on Jacques Roulet. Do you think he was unwell? Do you think he was a scapegoat? Do you think he was a werewolf?
Yeah, let us know. And if you have any stories you'd like to send in, the email is in the description that you can just shoot a message our way. And
We'll read anything.
and remember, if it's like a ghost story, put ghost story in the subject bar or whatever it pertains to.
Hmm.
Just so we have a general idea, and then if we want to do just ghost stories, we have that option too. Or if we want to do cryptid encounters, just that way we can do like a big bunch of them.
We can sort them easier.
Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully you will join us again next week.